Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean,
you're
and I think
that's a good
I was gonna
mess.
say, and I think the problem, I think the silver lining for Republicans in this upcoming budget showdown, Democrats really aren't in a position to risk a shutdown. They if they had a leader, if they had a coherent message and a coherent strategy, I would feel differently. But I don't believe they're up for this fight. I don't think that they have the infrastructure right now to effectively fight the fight. And I think a shutdown would just be disastrous. And so I feel like Democrats, the best thing they could do is to just take a step back and say, "Okay, you guys do your thing. You got all the power. Let's do your thing." And when it massively backfires for the American people, because I believe that it will, then there will be an opportunity for Democrats to step back in the picture. But if they fight this fight, and it ends up in shutdown central, no party that presides over a shutdown in any way, it never benefits the party that causes it.
Yep.
Like
But
going
they
back
don't
to
the point
Newt
is
and in the 90s.
they don't have to fight. My point is that they can just, as you say, sit back and I don't think they squeaked it out in the simplest vote, which was the easiest of all the votes. They won it by what? I think Massey voted against it. So what did they vote? Won it
Right.
by 2 votes or something.
Yeah.
So again, I don't see how they can get this budget passed. Dems should just sit back. They don't have to fight. And then I think Johnson will come to them because he's going to need the votes, and they can say, okay, we'll help you out, but we need A, B, C, D. And if there's a government shutdown, the party in charge gets blamed for it.
You
That's
do
always happened.
see, though you do see several Senate Democrats that are see, I think if you ask me today how much of a chance I think the government will shut down, I say 10%. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I think that you saw people like conservative senators like Rick Scott, Ron Johnson, others kinda came out and said, "As long as there's not major policy, I'm gonna support it." So you say you have 53 senators, then you need 6 in theory, because you would have the vice president if needed, and so you have already Fetterman that said he would support it, and I just think if there isn't any major policies that they can point to and say what the problem is, I think that you get a lot of Democrats. I think you get the 10 that voted to censure
Green.
Green
Yeah.
because they're in
I
so
think too that's interesting, if 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 what happens with Ukraine and Russia, if Trump is able to, as this budget fight kind of progresses, if he's able to get a win here, uh, I think that increases the chances of the budget going through without as many hiccups because Trump will have zero appetite for Washington, D.C. budget infighting to step on the message of brokering a peace deal, if you will, with Russia and Ukraine. He will have zero tolerance for anyone stealing that spotlight. He is not going to put up with Thomas Massey or one of the really true right wing conservative hold up the budget antics that we see every budget year. He will shut that down so quick. And so I do think like keep an eye on how Russia-Ukraine talks are developing because it's on a parallel path to this budget discussion. And my sense is that Trump is looking for a Nobel Peace Prize here. He's not going to want budget reconciliation issues to stomp on that success.
The House is the issue. I don't see a problem in the Senate, but I do think you have the Chip Roys who are going to, when it comes to actually voting on the final budget, I think there is going to be some pushback. So I think the House is the challenge, and I would predict that they're not going to have the votes. Now it's interesting where you bring up Kurt, how much if the Ukraine thing is really pushing it, then how much is the president going to use some political capital to step on these guys to get it done? I think there's certainly more of a chance, but right now I'd say it's about 50-50. I'm a little less sanguine than Ashley.
okay, what do we win if I win, what do I get?
Oh, so you think
Yeah,
so you think
well,
there's
well, well,
not going to be a shutdown. Dave thinks there's a 50-50. I
how
actually
about
think
you?
there's a 0% chance that there's a shutdown. I'm going to go 0.